Hey guys, tonight we're heading into something that's equal parts legend, warning, and whispered memory. Something the sea may have taken, but never fully swallowed. You're standing on the edge of the Baltic Sea, your boots damp, fog clinging to your sleeves like a needy ghost. The smell is sharp salt, wet driftwood, and the faintest trace of something ancient, like the pages of a book left too long in a cellar. The waves don't crash here, they breathe, slowly, like something sleeping just beneath the surface. And you're holding a map that shouldn't exist. The parchment is too smooth, the ink too stubborn. The name Vineta is scratched into it. Once, then scratched out, then written again, shakier, as if someone was arguing with themselves whether it should be remembered. You followed it here, to this beach, this night, this fog. You probably won't make it out. But hey, at least you brought snacks. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And drop me a comment. Where are you watching from? What time is it where you are? Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your feet leave shallow prints in the wet sand as you walk along the shoreline. They vanish within seconds like you're being erased step by step. Every few paces there's driftwood and shells and a strange kind of silence that doesn't come from absence, but from listening, like the wind is holding its breath. You pause near a half-buried object in the sand. First, it looks like a rock, but no edges too clean. You crouch, wipe it off. Glass, a shard, thick and bubbled, the kind they don't make anymore. Stained faintly blue. You tilt it, and the color shifts, just enough to make you think you saw a figure moving beneath the water. It's probably nothing. You tuck it into your coat pocket, the way people in horror stories always do with cursed objects. The fog thickens as you continue. A gull screams overhead like it's warning you, but gulls always scream, so that's fine. You pass a crooked signpost stuck in the dunes. The letters are mostly gone, but a V remains. Just one letter. That's not ominous at all. As you turn toward the craggy rocks ahead, something glints. Not light, not metal, something else. It flickers at the edge of your vision, like memory or déjà vu. You blink and it's gone. This is where the map said to stand. Right here, on this exact stone, with the sea in front, the reeds behind, and the sky so heavy it might collapse on your head. The coordinates are exact. You check twice, because of course you do. You're not a maniac. You wait, nothing happens, and then you feel it. Not wind, not movement, just pressure, like the ocean just exhaled. The kind of force you feel in your teeth. Your eardrums throb for a moment, then stop. You look down. The rock is etched with lines. You didn't notice them before. A circular design, delicate, ancient, almost hypnotic. It hums faintly, but maybe that's just your nerves. You kneel to trace it. The moment your finger touches the stone, the fog around you pulses. You stand too fast and almost slip. Your head spins, and for the briefest instant, you hear it. A bell, far, far beneath the water, but not muffled. No, it rings as clearly as if you stood inside the belfry. A deep, solemn toll that echoes through your bones. Not a warning, a welcome. You look out at the sea. Nothing has changed, but you feel watched. And then you hear a voice, soft, female, not speaking, singing. A lullaby in a language you don't know but somehow understand. The sun isn't rising, but the fog is pulling back just slightly, as if something beneath it wants to be seen. You squint. There on the horizon, is that a spire? You shake your head. Your breath fogs the air. Maybe you're sleep deprived. Or maybe this whole thing is just a sea breeze messing with you. Maybe. But then you remember the man in the antique shop. The way he handed you the map with shaking hands and said, "Don't go looking for what doesn't want to be found." You laughed then. You're not laughing now. Behind you, the waves hiss against the shore like something's crawling closer. You turn fast, nothing. But your boot has filled with water. From what? You weren't that close to the tide. And then it happens. The sand beneath you shifts. A slow, spiraling pull. As if the earth below is yawning open, inviting. You step back. Your heel catches. You fall. Not hard, just enough to feel ridiculous. You land on something soft, like fabric. But when you sit up, there's nothing there. Just more sand. And that bell again. 3 slow chimes this time. And the glass shard in your pocket? Warm. You reach for it and pull it out. It's glowing faintly now, like the embers of a dying fire. You grip it tighter than you should. Because somehow, this isn't over. This is an invitation. The city wants you to follow. And let's be honest, you want to follow too. Because who wouldn't chase a lost city? Even if it leads into the sea. Even if the sea leads into dreams. Even if the dreams never quite let you wake up. You wake to the smell of brine and damp wool. Except you don't remember falling asleep. Your coat is heavier now, crusted with a fine salt that clings to the seams like frost. The fog has thinned, but the sun hasn't risen. In fact, you're not sure it ever will. Somewhere out there, just past the surf, you hear a sound. Not the creak of a boat or the screech of gulls. A voice, not quite human, not quite wind, says your name, twice. You freeze. No one else should be out here. Not at this hour. Not in this fog. And definitely not whispering your name like it's a prayer or a threat. You take a cautious step toward the shoreline. Your boot sinks slightly in the wet sand, making that sticky squelch sound, like the earth is reconsidering whether to let you stand. You should leave. That would be the smart thing, the reasonable thing. But let's be honest. You passed reasonable 3 maps ago. Besides, the shard of glass in your pocket is warm again. You pull it out. It's brighter now, glowing softly like a coal under velvet. You turn it slowly and there it is again, just for a second. A spire, a rooftop, maybe the tip of a dome. Then it vanishes beneath a ripple, like a thought you forgot mid-sentence. And then, behind you, a voice cuts through the hush. They say it still breathes. You spin around. It's a woman, mid-60s maybe, wrapped in wool and silence. She's holding a small basket filled with dried fish and seaweed, but her eyes don't blink. Not once. You try to speak, but your throat is dry. She speaks again before you can find a sentence. Vineta. It breathes. Not like lungs, no. Not like us. It breathes with tides. With hunger. You finally manage. Excuse me? She leans forward slightly, and suddenly the scent of salt is overtaken by old copper and wet stone. You heard it, didn't you? The bells. Most don't. Only those it wants. You take a step back. Then another. She doesn't follow. You'll dream tonight, she says, and her tone is not hopeful. Don't eat anything there. You blink. And just like that, she's walking away. Into the mist. Her boots leave no prints. Okay, so either you've just met a coastal witch or someone who's watched way too many medieval TikToks. Still, you write it down. All of it. Because something in her eyes felt familiar. The same kind of knowing that was in the man who gave you the map. You wander back to the stone where the markings were. But they're gone now. The rock is smooth, as if it never had anything on it. As if it's changed its mind. You sit. The air is quiet again, but not peaceful. No, this quiet feels like a held breath. You take out your notebook. You write, Vineta, city beneath the sea. Possibly real. possibly bait, definitely weird. As you write, the fog pulls back a little more, just enough to see a shimmer far out in the water, like glass, or maybe windows. The shard in your hand pulses. You do not dream that night. Instead, you return. It's morning, sort of. The light is gray, but not from clouds. More like absence. The sky feels thinner, like it's paper and someone's rubbing an eraser across it. You walk into the village, if it can be called that. A cluster of stone homes, their roofs slick with sea moss. Nets hang like cobwebs. No one's outside, except one man. He's carving something into a wooden beam. His eyes flick to you and back to his work. "You looking for the drowned ones?" he asks without looking up. You hesitate. "I'm looking for Vineta." He smiles, but not kindly. Same thing. You ask if he's heard of it. We all have, some more often than others, especially those who listen at night. He stands, wipes his hands on a rag, then points to the harbor. "Talk to Branna. She saw it." You squint toward the dock. There's a boat tied loosely to a post, and in it sits a woman with a weathered face and arms tattooed in tight circles. She's feeding crumbs to something under the water. You think it's fish, but they're too slow, too deliberate. You approach. She doesn't look up, just says, "You want to know what I saw?" You nod. "It's not what I saw. It's what saw me." Her fingers pause. A tower, glass on every side, underwater but lit from within. I think it breathed. She looks up now. Her eyes are pale, not blind, just distant. And they were in there, still moving, still buying and selling. But there was no sound, only the bells. You ask, "Why are you telling me this?" She shrugs. "Because you already saw it. You just haven't remembered yet." Then she leans close and whispers, "Be careful where you look. Some reflections don't let go." And just like that, she turns back to her slow, thoughtful fish. You leave the dock with the taste of iron in your mouth. You didn't eat anything, but your teeth feel wrong, like you bit into something you weren't supposed to. That night, you try to sleep. You really do. But sleep isn't something that happens anymore. It's something that calls you. And from beneath the Baltic Sea, a city is whispering your name. You don't remember closing your eyes, but you open them underwater. You should panic, but you don't. Not yet, because you're not choking, not even holding your breath. You're just there, suspended in cold water that doesn't cling. It's like drifting in silk laced with memory. You try to move and your body obeys, slowly, like it remembers this place better than your waking mind ever could. Ahead, the city rises. Vineta, but not as ruins. Not crumbled stone or shadowy outlines on the seafloor. No, this city is alive. Golden roofs catch the filtered light. Towers stretch like needles toward the surface. Archways bloom with carvings so delicate you feel they might dissolve if you blink too hard. Streets paved in what looks like polished obsidian spiral inward like a nautilus shell. You drift forward, as though pulled by tide or dream or invitation. Your feet touch the ground, somehow, and the moment they do, the water vanishes. Gone. No splash, no sound, just air. Cold, electric air humming with voices and motion. The market is packed. Figures bustle past you in layered robes, hands weighed with coins, arms filled with bread, spices, bolts of cloth. No one notices you. You're invisible here, a ghost among ghosts, but you can hear everything. 10 rubies for the silver fish, no less. No refunds. The incense is cursed. That's why it works. Blessings for your child? 15 shillings. 20 if you want them to live past 6. The market is stunning, but it's wrong. There's no sun overhead, no sky, The light comes from the stones themselves, from the marble columns, the domed ceilings, the eyes of the statues. It's too perfect, too gleaming. You squint and some edges shimmer like a video buffering, like a lie fighting to stay solid. And the people, too still. They smile too wide. Their teeth are too white. Their robes flutter without wind. You realize no one is touching each other. No one is aging. Even the pigeons above perch motionless, like someone pressed pause mid-flap. Then someone sees you. A woman at a stall selling gold threads looks up, right at you. She smiles, not with her mouth but with her eyes. And you understand instantly, she's been here a long time, too long. She raises one finger, slowly, and points behind you. You turn. There, at the center of the market, stands a fountain. Water bubbles from the mouth of a lion carved from salt. In its basin, coins, bones, something glowing faintly green. But it's what stands above it that stops your breath. A statue, 10 feet tall, gold. And it's you. Same coat, same boots, same tilt of the head. Except this version of you is smiling. A full, satisfied, too-wide grin. You step back, bump into a vendor's cart filled with tiny glass bottles. One tumbles to the ground and shatters, not with the usual crash, but with a sound like a distant scream. Everything freezes. Everyone stops. They all look at you, even the pigeons. Someone whispers, "He doesn't belong." Another voice, closer, "He touched the mirror." A third, "He still remembers." The market begins to flicker, not with light, with time. You see it rewind fast. The bread unbakes. The candles regrow their wax. Coins jump back into pockets. Smiles vanish. Then forward, faster still. People age in flashes. Teeth fall out. Hair grays, then disappears. Robes fray. Buildings crack. Statues crumble. You see the city die in 10 seconds flat. And then it resets. All fresh again. All golden. All perfect. This market is a loop. A memory on repeat. Cage disguised as paradise. You try to leave. You turn toward the archway you came from, but it's gone. The stall you bumped into now sells flowers. The woman who pointed is no longer smiling. She's weeping, silently. Her tears roll upward, back into her eyes. You grip the shard of glass in your pocket. It's pulsing again, like a heartbeat. You pull it out and hold it up. Everything halts, then shudders, like a movie reel skipping. And the city speaks, not in words, not even in sound, but in pressure, in memory, in hunger. It wants something from you, but you don't know what yet. You blink, and you're back on the shore, on your knees, covered in salt, the shard in your hand now cool, dark, still. You look around. The fog has returned, but something's changed. There are footprints next to yours, bare feet, smaller than yours. They weren't there before. You follow them, through the wet sand, past the same driftwood, toward the stone where this began. You reach it. There's something new carved on it now. A symbol, a spiral, inward, inward, inward. And 3 words etched in a language you shouldn't know, but you do. Gold eats memory. You don't sleep that night either, because you remember too much now. And the market is waiting for you to come back. It always does. Tonight, the sea is louder than usual. Not in waves or thunder or storms, but in rhythm. A soft, steady hum, low enough to slip under your skin. It rises from the deep, not in a roar, but in pulses, like a heartbeat, like bells. You're lying in a rented room near the harbor now, the kind of room that smells of mildew and someone else's regrets. There's no lock on the door, and the single window overlooks the black swell of the Baltic. You haven't eaten, Not since the market. Not since that dream. Or whatever it was. You're not sure dreams leave footprints. The glass shard rests on the nightstand beside you. It stopped glowing sometime around dawn, but you swear it ticked once while you blinked. You try to sleep, but every time your eyes close, you hear them. Bells. Not church bells, though. Not quite. These ring slow and deep, like they're made of stone and grief and stories no one should remember. You sit up, swing your legs over the side of the bed. The floorboards creak the way guilty people do. You reach for the shard, and this time it burns. Not painfully, but personally, like it knows your name, like it knows what you saw. And just like that, you're standing. Your coat is already on. Your boots already laced. You don't remember doing that. The door opens without your help. And outside, the streets are empty. No wind, no stars. Just fog curling at your ankles like a pet made of secrets. You walk. You don't know where to. You just go. The bells guide you, one tone at a time. You follow the sound down the cobblestone path toward the docks. The boats sway gently, moored in silence, their sails tucked in like wings at rest. Everything feels paused, like the city is holding its breath just for you. You reach the edge of the pier, and you see it. No mistaking it now. Out on the water, not far, something glows beneath the surface. Faint, golden ring. Not a reflection. Not a trick. A door, maybe. A window. A trap. The bells ring again. 3 tones closer than before. And behind you, someone says, quietly, "Don't answer." You turn. It's the old man from the shop. The one who gave you the map. He's standing there barefoot, his coat dusted in salt, his hands trembling like his bones have been arguing for years. You open your mouth, but he raises a finger. "You heard them, didn't you?" You nod. He sighs, deep, like he's been holding it for a decade. Then it's too late. They know you know. You ask, "What are they?" He looks out to the sea, eyes distant. Not people, not ghosts, not exactly memories either. They're the city, or what's left of it. He lowers his voice. Vineta rings its bells to call back what it lost. And sometimes it gets curious. Sometimes it calls new ones. You glance down at the shard in your palm. Pulses again. Once, twice. He winces. It's an echo piece. That's why I gave it away. Thought maybe if someone else held it, I could finally sleep. He chuckles darkly. Didn't work. You ask him what the bells mean. He doesn't answer. He just starts to hum. Not a tune, not a melody, just the bells. Low, deep, hollow. You recognize the notes because you've been hearing them since yesterday, since always. You just didn't know you remembered. He looks at you and says, "They ring in 3s. 3 chimes means the city has opened its eyes. 4, and it remembers your name. 5, and it wants you back." You ask, "Back where?" He smiles, sadly. "Somewhere you've never been. Somewhere you'll never leave." Then he turns and walks into the fog, whistling the bell tones like a lullaby. You wait. The glow beneath the water pulses. The shard hums. And then, dong, dong, dong. 3 clear tones from the deep. Your ears ring. Your teeth buzz. The pier beneath you shudders like it's afraid. The water ripples. And somewhere below, something stirs. You can't see it. Not yet. But it sees you. And the bells keep ringing in your blood. You wake with sand in your mouth and your coat soaked to the ribs. Not rain. Not sea spray. Just sea. The way it might greet a sleeper who'd wandered too close to a memory. You're on the beach again. Same beach. Same fog. But different somehow. The horizon feels further away. And your skin, it hums. not like electricity, more like memory trying to seep through. You sit up slowly. The shard lies half buried beside you, cool now, quiet, innocent. You hate it, you love it, because it's the only thing that seems to know what's going on. You look to the waves and you remember, not clearly, not like photographs, but like dreams you almost wrote down. A city, golden, impossible, ringing with bells and markets and songs and silk and secrets. And then, gone. You stand. The fog shifts. And you're not alone. He's there. The old man from the shop. Again. Sitting on a driftwood log like he never left. He pats the sand beside him without looking. Come. Time to learn why she sank. You sit. He doesn't turn to you. Just speaks, low, like reading a story from a book that's too old to open. Vineta was rich. Beyond rich. Gold floors. Marble bathtubs. Even the pigs ate figs. They say its people were clever. Inventors. Artists. Merchants with ships that never returned empty. But cleverness can't save you from greed. You ask what happened. He smiles, bitter. Depends on who you ask. He holds up his hand. Begins to count off fingers, slowly. Some say a fisherman came, hungry, begging for bread. They laughed and kicked him into the gutter. Others say it was a priest, poor one, offered salvation for a coin. They gave him a moldy pear instead. Another story says it was a girl, young, wet with sea brine, said she dreamed the city would drown. They made her dance on the tables until she cried. He lowers his hand. And then one morning, the sea came in. You frown. All cities near the sea risk floods. Why is this different? He finally turns. His eyes are dark. Not evil, just full. Like they've seen too many versions of the same ending. Because it wasn't just the sea. It was the sea with purpose. The sea that had had enough. He leans in slightly. It didn't come with waves. Came with silence, stillness, and bells. People ran, but their feet found marble that melted. Doors locked from the outside. Gold turned to salt. Statues wept blood that smelled like cinnamon. You blink. That sounds familiar. You saw that in the market, didn't you? He keeps going. Some say the city had a choice. It could give up its treasure, or keep it and be taken. And guess what it chose? You already know. You've walked its streets, felt its greed pressed into every pillar. You ask, but how could a whole city make that choice? He shrugs. Maybe it didn't. Maybe the ones who ruled did. And the rest? Well, history doesn't ask for signatures. Just silence. You stare out at the sea. Still now. Glass-like, but you swear something shifts just under the surface, as if it's waiting for you to stop watching. He taps your arm, points. A stone slab juts out from the surf. You hadn't noticed it before. Etched into it, barely visible, are rows of writing. You walk toward it, carefully. The tide parts slightly, just for you. You run your fingers along the text. It's not Latin. It's older, smoother, like the letters were grown instead of carved. But you understand it. Somehow you do. Those who hoarded gold shall wear it like chains. Those who ignored the hungry shall gnaw their own tongues. Those who silenced warnings shall never speak again. And beneath it all, in larger, deeper letters, greed buys silence. Silence buys the sea. You step back. The water rushes in again, covering the slab in a moment. Gone. You turn to ask the man more, but he's no longer on the log. Gone too, just like the city, just like the warning. You stand there for a long while watching the waves. And the bells? They ring again. For this time, dong, 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 dong. You taste copper. The shard burns in your hand. The city remembers your name. You're not sure what wakes you. It might be the smell, wet parchment, old ink, and that sour bite of dried salt crusting over something long dead. Or it might be the whispering, not human whispering, pages. You open your eyes and you're not in your rented room anymore. You're in a library, except libraries don't usually tilt sideways. Books lie scattered across stone shelves slick with algae. The walls glisten, not with dust, but with condensation, as though this room exhaled with the tides. Moss grows between the bricks in careful lines, as if nature is trying to underline certain sections. The light is dim, blue, as if the sea above lets just enough sunlight drip through to remind you what you've lost. You walk forward. Your boots echo on wet tile. Each step sends ripples across the floor, though there's no standing water. The air is thick, not with dampness, no, with memory. This place remembers everything, and it remembers you. You reach the first lectern. There's a book open, enormous, bound in leather that might once have been skin. It's written in 3 languages, Latin, Old High German, and something older, something that curls on the page like it doesn't want to be read. You tilt your head. The text changes. Lines rearrange themselves into shapes you can understand. You read. The city was not built. It was revealed. You blink. Turn the page. The bells are not warnings. They are doors. You run your fingers along the words, and for a moment your skin burns cold, like you've touched a name you weren't supposed to say out loud. Behind you, a shelf shifts, not creaks, shifts. You spin around, but it's only a fish, swimming lazily through the air. You blink. No, there's no water here. You're breathing just fine, but still it swims. Scales shimmer with letters, tiny, glowing runes that vanish as it twists. You whisper, Vineta. It doesn't answer, but it turns once and disappears into the stacks. You follow. You don't mean to. You just do. The aisles stretch farther than they should. Books lean like weary monks. Scrolls hum under your fingers as you pass. A few try to open by themselves, eager, hungry, but you keep walking, deeper, until you find the table. It's low, square, covered in fragments. Pieces of a manuscript, drenched, wrinkled, some burned at the edges. Letters crawl across them like insects, and in the center, a single line, repeated over and over. She rises when forgotten. You sit, arrange the pieces. You don't know how, but your hands do, like they've done this before. The text builds into a story. Vineta was never meant to stay above the sea. Not because it was sinful, not because of a curse, but because it was borrowed. The land was alone, a bargain struck with something old, something in the water. The city was allowed to thrive for a time, but there were rules, ancient ones. One of them, remember the debt, but the people stopped remembering. They celebrated themselves, built temples to commerce, turned fountains into wishing wells, made gold their god, and the debt came due. You flip the last page, and there, in fresh ink, is a line that wasn't there before. You have read too far. You flinch. The page bubbles, sizzles, vanishes in steam. You stagger back, heart pounding. The books begin to groan, not from weight, from waking up, and the bells begin again. 5 tones. Dong, 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 dong. You gasp. The 5th bell. You remember what the old man said. 5, and it wants you back. And it does. The floor quakes. Shelves crack. Books scream. You run. Back down the aisles. Past the sleeping scrolls. Past the fish. Past the whispers. You find the door you didn't see before. You push through, and you're in the harbor again. Morning. Real morning. Sort of. The sky is gray, the kind of gray that isn't overcast but just empty. And your hands? Still holding the manuscript fragment. It's dry now. You unfold it. One word remains. Soon, the shard in your pocket hums. And this time you don't pull it out, because you already know it's glowing. Because the city wants you to keep reading. And you're not sure you can stop. Not anymore. The church is barely standing. Its bell tower leans like a drunk uncle at a wedding. 1 foot already in the grave. Ivy coils through shattered stained glass, twisting around the stone as if trying to hold it up or pull it down. The roof is caved in, but the walls remain. Stubborn, weather-beaten, and slick with the breath of the sea. You found it on a hunch. A line from the manuscript, half-scratched into the margin like an afterthought. Where the choir drowned singing, it led you here, past a trail of bramble and mud, through fog that made your lungs ache like regret, until you reached this place. Not a ruin, a remainder. And as you step inside, your boots crunch on wet stone, and the sound vanishes before it reaches the second pew. This place eats noise. Your breath sounds distant, like you're eavesdropping on yourself from another time. The altar stands at the far end, cracked and crooked. What once was marble is now pitted, stained with what could be candle wax or something darker. And in the middle, beneath where the choir would have stood, a circle of water glistens. A pool, shallow, too perfect, like the rain only falls there. You kneel beside it. The reflection stares back. Not yours. You lean closer. Slowly. The face you see is older, pale, eyes hollow, mouth open in a silent hymn. Gold thread weaves through the hair like veins. You blink, and it blinks back. Slowly, sadly, then mouths a word. You don't hear it, but you know it. Vineta. You fall back, startled, your hands splashing in the water. And suddenly, it's not shallow. It's deep, so deep you can't see the bottom. And from that impossible blackness, a bell rings, not like before. This one's wrong. It rings upward, not from the sea, but through it, as if something at the bottom is clawing toward the surface, one tone at a time. You scramble up, backpedaling through the pews, but the chapel's changed. Benches stretch longer than they should. Walls sweat salt. The stained glass glows with light that doesn't come from outside. You glance behind you. The doorway's gone. Of course it is. You're in it now. Inside the memory. Inside the drowning. The singing starts. Low. Melancholic. Not in Latin. In something older. The notes stretch like kelp in a tide, brushing against your ears, your ribs, your bones. You turn toward the altar. The choir has returned. 6 figures, shimmering, translucent, dressed in robes that ripple like ink dropped in water. Their mouths move, their eyes closed. Their song presses down like the weight of centuries. It doesn't ask permission to enter you. It seeps. You stagger, try to cover your ears. It doesn't help, because the song isn't being heard. It's being remembered. Each note drags up something you didn't know you carried. The scent of coins heated in the sun. A prayer whispered not for forgiveness, but for profit. A door locked from the inside. A girl dancing on a tavern table, crying while the crowd laughed. This isn't music. It's a confession. And you're part of it now. You scream, or try to, but nothing comes out. Only a bell. One single note escapes your throat. Low, hollow, final. And the figures stop singing. They look at you, not like strangers, like congregants recognizing their priest, or their executioner. Their mouths open in unison, and you brace for another verse. But instead they say, "You must carry the silence." Then they vanish, gone in a blink, like they were never there. You collapse, gasping, and the chapel is empty again. The puddle has returned to its shallow, innocent shape. Your coat is dry. The doorway is back. But you don't leave. Not yet, because where the choir stood lies a book, thin, bound in fish skin, still dripping. You pick it up. It hums. Inside, blank pages, except the last one. 3 lines. The city remembers the song. The bells remember the silence. Now so do you. You close the book, step outside, and realize the fog isn't fog anymore. It's steam, rising from the sea, and beneath it, a spire, just for a moment, then gone. The spire stays in your memory long after the sea swallows it again. You can still feel it, a perfect triangle piercing the horizon, etched with windows that flickered like candlelight or eyes. And as you walk back from the chapel, the road feels subtly different beneath your boots. Too flat, too clean, almost like it's been prepared. The town is empty when you return. Not just quiet, wrong. Signs hang sideways. Lamps are unlit. Curtains, which yesterday fluttered in the sea breeze, are stiff as if dipped in wax. And the boats? All gone. Even Branna's. Even the old man's dinghy tied to the dock like a loyal dog. Gone. The harbor is still. And above it, a gull hangs in midair. Not flapping, just frozen. You stare at it for a moment too long. Your head begins to buzz like you've pressed it to a live wire. You look away. The spell breaks. The gull snaps into motion with a startled cry and vanishes into the fog like it too saw something it shouldn't have. You turn toward the hotel. Your room waits for you unchanged. The shard lies on the nightstand exactly where you didn't leave it. And the book, the fishskin book from the chapel, is open. You swear you closed it, but it's open. And now the pages are not blank. They're full. One page over and over, the same phrase, written in different hands, in different inks, in letters that jitter across the page like they were copied in a storm. The door has no handle. You turn the page. It's written again and again. But this time, on the 5th page, it adds a new line. Only those who've drowned may open it. You exhale slowly, because you understand. It's not metaphor. It's not symbolic. The city doesn't take visitors. It takes residents. And the way in is to lose something. A life, a name, a breath. You flip ahead, searching for something, anything else. Near the end, one last scrawled sentence. Do not knock. If it hears you, it will answer. You slam the book shut. This time, it doesn't resist. You sit on the bed and stare at the shard. It glows faintly. A heartbeat. Slow. Regular. You close your eyes. Try not to hear the bells. Try not to remember the song. Try not to want to see the door. Because you do. You do. You wake to knocking. 3 soft raps. Not at the door. At the mirror. You freeze. It happens again. Knock. 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 You rise slowly. Cross the room. There's nothing in the reflection. Just you. And behind you, the window. But when you turn to look, it's not a window anymore. It's a door. Tall, narrow, slick with condensation. It doesn't belong in this room. It doesn't belong anywhere. This frame is rusted iron. Its hinges made of twisted coral. Its center pulses with a faint golden shimmer. You reach for the handle. There isn't one. Of course there isn't. You remember, only those who've drowned may open it. And for the first time, you wonder, have you? Has all this already happened? Are you just catching up? Because you haven't eaten in days. You barely sleep. Your reflection flickers sometimes when you walk by puddles. And your memories, some of them aren't yours. You step back, but the door remains. It doesn't disappear like the others. It waits, patient, hungry. You grab your coat. The shard jumps in your pocket like a dog eager for the leash. You leave the hotel. Outside, the fog has parted just a little, enough to show you something you weren't meant to see yet. Pathway, stone, slick with moss, leading down the cliffs behind the village, toward the water, and halfway down, a second door, identical, half submerged, no handle, but open, slightly ajar. Waiting, you swallow. The bells are silent, for now, but you can feel them holding their breath. You step toward the path, and the moment your boot hits the first mossy stone, the fog behind you seals shut like a curtain. There's no turning back now. The path is narrower than you expected. Not dangerous exactly, just unnatural. The stones beneath your feet are too evenly spaced, as though someone or something meticulously laid them in anticipation of your steps. Moss covers the edges, softening the edges of the descent, but it doesn't grow where you walk. Like it knows not to. You count your breaths, not to calm yourself, those days are behind you, but to make sure you're still breathing. Every few minutes you stop, listen, wait, because the silence here is active, intentional. You get the sense that if you listen long enough, you'd hear something breathing in sync with you. You descend for what feels like an hour, maybe more. There's no time down here, just fog, cliffs, and the constant hiss of waves that never quite reach your ears. Then you see it. The door, half submerged in the base of the cliff, framed in black stone. Coral vines twist around its edges, blooming in the shapes of hands, mouths, and bells. Not decoration. Warnings. No handle, but slightly ajar. You kneel in front of it. The tide washes up, kisses your boots, and recedes again. Not in waves, in pulses, like something's drawing breath beneath the rock. The shard in your pocket begins to vibrate. Not a soft hum now, a thrum, like it recognizes this place. You reach into your coat and pull it out. It's blinding, brighter than before, glowing with a golden blue pulse that flickers in patterns, almost like Morse code, if Morse code was invented by cathedral bells. And as you hold it near the door opens. No sound, no dramatic creak. It just slips, the way a sigh slips from someone too tired to hold it back. Inside, there's no tunnel, no staircase, just a drop, straight down. Black water, still as oil, sits at the bottom of the opening. No ripples, no movement, but you know the depth is not the point. The point is whether you'll step. You hesitate, because now you remember, not from a dream, from before. You've been here, not in this lifetime, perhaps, but in one of the echoes that still cling to the chapel walls, the market stalls, the books that bleed ink. You've stood at this threshold once already, chosen not to fall. This time you don't get a choice, because behind you, the bells ring again. 6 notes. Dong, 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 dong. And with the 6th, the earth shudders. The path behind you collapses, swallowed by the cliff. The sea rushes forward, then stops, held back by the door. You understand now. The bells are not summoning you. They're summoning it. You step forward. The shard in your hand dissolves into water. It drips down your fingers into the pool, and the door accepts you. You fall, but you do not splash. You land on stone, dry, breathing, and around you a city unfolds. Not in light, in memory. Buildings ripple into existence, not brick by brick, but moment by moment. You smell food that hasn't been cooked in centuries. Hear laughter from mouths long since rotted. Feel the heat of fires that once warmed kings and charred thieves. Vineta is alive, but not in time, in echo. You walk forward, and the world builds itself around your presence. You pass through a square where a man is selling spices that smoke in blue flame. His face flickers every few seconds. His eyes never blink. He doesn't speak, but his mouth moves as though reciting a script. Behind him, a child chases a hoop down a cobblestone alley that curls back on itself like a Mobius strip. A woman sweeps her doorstep endlessly, her broom never touching dust. And above you, the sky pulses, with light, with bells, with want. You reach what must have been the heart of the city once. A plaza, empty, except for a single fountain in the center. And on its edge, a figure, facing away from you. You approach slowly. The figure turns. It's you, but not you. Older, tired, smiling a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. You speaks. You made it back. You ask who he is. He shrugs. A future, possibility, a warning. He points to the fountain. That's where it starts, and where it ends. Drink and you forget. Leave and you'll return. There is no third path. You ask what happens if you refuse. He doesn't answer, just smiles again, and walks into the fountain, vanishing beneath the surface like he was never there. You stare at the water, clear, still. You lean in and see not your face, but everyone else's. The old man, the fish seller, the girl who danced on the tavern table. The priest turned away, the fisherman who was mocked. All of them, every visitor, every exile, every echo, and in the center of it all, Vineta, watching, waiting, breathing. You don't drink from the fountain, not yet, but you dip your fingers in, and the water is warm, not bath warm, not blood warm, memory warm, the kind of warmth that makes you forget the cold existed at all. Your hand tingles, not painfully but thoroughly, like every nerve is remembering something at once. Every scar, every kiss, every lie you ever believed about who you were and what you'd never become. You pull your hand back. The water clings, not physically, emotionally, and behind you, Vineta pulses. You turn. The plaza is no longer empty. Figures are gathering. Some walk like they've never had knees before. Others glide, soundless, their feet an inch above the stone. All are beautiful in the wrong way. Symmetrical where they shouldn't be, with eyes too steady, skin too smooth, too golden. Like statues that learned how to breathe. One of them speaks. You've touched the mouth. You look down. The fountain. The mouth. You ask what it is. The figure tilts its head, and a second voice answers from somewhere behind you. A place where memory enters. A place where names exit. You realize then, this city isn't just alive. It's feeding, not on flesh, on identity. You've been leaving parts of yourself here since the beginning. With every bell, every echo, every glimpse, you ask the figures, "What do you want from me?" They answer together. To remember. The word strikes deep, not yours. Theirs. They want you to carry them, not as stories, as truths. They step forward, one at a time, hands outstretched, not reaching for you but offering something. You feel it before you see it. Wait, not in your arms, in your mind. Memories that aren't yours drop into place like books shelved too fast. A wedding during a red tide. A prayer scribbled on the inside of a fish's skull. A child traded for salt. A storm that didn't move like a storm but like an answer. Your knees buckle, but you don't fall. Because the city holds you now. Keeps you upright. Keeps you useful. The figures vanish again, dissolving into gold dust, into air, into whispers. The plaza shifts, not physically, temporally. You're standing where you were, but it's no longer the same moment. There are people around you now, living ones, shouting, singing, selling. You've slipped backward. into before. The golden years of Vineta. You're invisible to them, but you feel everything. The weight of coins in your pocket. The sun reflecting off towers made of mother of pearl. The smell of roasted pears and myrrh. A woman walks past, her child trailing behind, pulling a wooden toy carved like a whale. He looks at you, not through you, at you, and smiles. He mouths a word. You can't hear it, but your lips shape it in return without understanding why. Soon, the moment passes. The boy vanishes. The city flickers, and you're back in the empty plaza again. Alone, but not really, because now you carry it. Inside you, you are part of it. You touch the shard in your pocket. No, wait, it's not there. You reach again. Gone. You look to the fountain. The water pulses gold, like something sacred was just returned. You hear footsteps. Soft, bare. You turn. It's the old man. Again, but different.
Taller.
Straighter. Younger. His eyes no longer tremble. You gave it back. You don't speak. He nods. Now you have to choose. You ask, between what? He steps aside. 2 doors stand behind him. One is the same coral-framed arch you came through. Black stone. No handle. The other, wooden, cracked, with your reflection in it. The door to your hotel room. Back to the world. Back to forgetting. You stare at them both. One takes you deeper. The other lets you wake up. Maybe. If you leave, he says, you will forget what you've seen. Mostly. If you stay, he doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. You already know. You take a breath and walk toward. The door you chose is still closing. You walk toward the wooden door. The one with your reflection. Feels like betrayal. Like turning your back on a friend mid-sentence. But it's the only door that doesn't hum. You reach for the handle. Your fingers stop just short, because your reflection isn't doing the same. It's watching you, still, unblinking. You lean closer, and it smiles. Not like you do. Not how you smile. This is the smile of someone who knows something you don't. But is you, so you should know too. Right? Wrong. The smile vanishes. The reflection reaches out. And the moment your fingers meet the cold metal of the handle, the door breathes in. That's the only way to describe it. The wood flexes slightly, like lungs, like it had been waiting, and the city groans. Not in protest, in preparation. You pull. It opens. And there, on the other side, your hotel room, exactly as you left it. The dim lamp flickering, the unmade bed, the fishskin book still open, bleeding ink onto the sheets like it's been sobbing through the spine. The window shows stars. No fog, just stars. Familiar, honest, uninterested in your secrets. You take one step forward, and everything changes. The weight in your bones, the sound in your ears. The city vanishes behind you in an instant, the way dreams do when you remember you're late for something. You collapse onto the bed. You sleep for a day and a half. When you wake, you're still wearing your boots. The shard is on the nightstand again. Dry. Silent. You lift it. Nothing happens. Not a flicker. Not a hum. Just glass now. You open the hotel window. The sea looks ordinary. A boat sways in the harbor. Children shout somewhere down the alley. The world didn't stop while you were gone, but something else did. Inside you, you get up, wash your face, change your shirt. You move like someone playing the role of person who left their hotel room once and saw nothing special. And yet, the smell of salt lingers in your lungs. Not today's salt, Vineta's. You leave the hotel later that afternoon. Branna's stall is gone. The square is smaller than you remember. You walk to the cliffside path. The moss is there, but no stones, no door, no trace, Just water and rock and birdsong. You stand there for hours, waiting for bells, but they don't come. That night, you try to write down what happened. The fishskin book is gone, so you grab a notebook from your bag. Start from the beginning, but every time you reach a key part, the word vanishes off the page. Not faded, gone, as if it was never there. You try again, same result. Eventually, you stop trying to write, and you begin to speak. You rent a mic, set up a camera, you start a channel. You call it Shadowed History. You tell the stories the world has almost forgotten. And in every video, if someone listens closely, they'll hear it. A faint, rhythmic hum in the background. 3 tones, then 4, then 5. You edit it out every time, but it always comes back. You know what it is. You know who it is. Because the city may have let you leave, but it still breathes through you. The mail starts 3 days after the upload. You don't give your address. You don't even say what town you're in. But the first envelope is there, slid under the door sometime in the early hours, sealed with wax that smells faintly like seawater and burnt myrrh. No return address. You open it with a steak knife, careful not to slice whatever's inside. Postcard, matte finish, thick stock. Photo, no, not a photo. Painting of a city half sunken beneath the waves. Spires stretching through fog. Windows glowing underwater like lantern fish. On the back, one line in ink so dark it swallows light. We saw you at the fountain. No name, no signature, no date. You stare at it for a long time, set it aside. The next day there's another, this one tucked into your coat pocket. You hadn't worn that coat in a week. Another postcard, this time a night market. Floating stalls, candlelit paths curling between glass domes submerged just below the surface. The ink smells of old leather and oranges. She remembers the boy. You don't need to ask who she is. Vineta, the city, the memory. She's awake now, and you're still carrying her. You try to move on. You keep uploading. You talk about other legends, Plato, YS, Cantor Arguelid, the usual suspects. But the comments are always the same. There's something different about your voice now. Is that echoing in the background? Why do I feel wet after listening to this? Did anyone else see a tower flicker at 29:34? Who was the woman behind him at 3:12? You check the footage, frame by frame. Nothing's there, except when there is. One frame, one flicker, a face reflected in the black of your pupil. You blink, gone. The third postcard is wet when it arrives. Inside a package. No postage, no barcode, just your name. The card depicts a chapel. Cracked roof, flooded aisles, 6 figures in the choir loft, mouths open in song, but no eyes. The ink runs down the card like tears. We never stopped singing. You stopped sleeping, not from fear, from need, because sleep is the door, and you know what waits behind it. The other door, the one you almost opened, the one you still might. You leave your apartment for the first time in days. Walk down to the sea, just to see if it's still there, still normal. It is, for now. But as you sit on the dock, a seagull lands beside you. It's missing one eye. The other stares into you like a camera lens recording a confession you haven't spoken aloud. Coughs. You don't know birds could cough. Something wet falls from its beak. Not food. A key. Rusty. Curled at the end like coral. Cold as bone. You pick it up. The seagull takes flight. You turn the key in your hand. There's no label. No chain. But you know. It belongs to the door that has no handle. And now it doesn't need one. Because it has you. That night you dream. For the first time in weeks. The city is quiet. Waiting. The fountain is dry. The choir stands motionless, and in your coat pocket, the key hums. But you don't wake up, because this isn't sleep. Not anymore. You've stepped through again, whether you meant to or not, and the water rises to meet you like a memory you tried too hard to forget. You are not where you were. There's no gentle transition, no flickering of dream logic or soft descent into unreality. Just the snap of absence, one blink, and suddenly the room, the dock, the world above is gone. You're standing in a street you've never seen, yet already recognize. The bricks underfoot are slick with something not quite water. The lanterns above glow in that impossible, sourceless gold light. Buildings rise on either side, taller than they were last time. Or maybe you've just shrunk. A voice calls out from a second-story balcony. He's back. You look up. A woman with a veil of seaweed for hair smiles at you with a mouth too wide, like it was meant for something besides speech. Behind her, others emerge. Flickers, faces from old postcards, figures from the plaza, and then faces you don't recognize. Yet you feel their names fall into place on your tongue like they were always yours to carry. Rickle, who drowned building the first bridge. Anya, who bottled fog and sold it for prayer coins. Doma, who left, returned, and left again, but never at the same time. They wave, not welcoming, acknowledging, like old co-workers in the break room of memory. You walk, because of course you do. Vineta never tells you to move. She just rearranges the world until standing still becomes impossible. You pass what used to be a bakery. Now it sells keys, thousands of them, hung from ropes like garlic, laid in baskets like fruit, jammed into soft bread as if memory itself has grown edible. The baker looks up. He is missing half his face. Where flesh should be, there is mirror. You see yourself in it, older. Beta. Smiling. You ask him, "Which one's mine?" He shrugs. "Wrong question. Ask which one is ready." You don't ask. You move on, because Vineta is shifting again. The cobblestones beneath you begin to pulse, like they're breathing. You look down. You're standing on a map, a living map. The stones align beneath your boots to form symbols. Letters? Runes? No, coordinates. Path only you can follow. You begin walking faster, not because you're afraid, but because the air has changed. Heavier, saltier, like lungs that have never dried. You round a corner, and there it is, the tide, but not the sea. This isn't water as you know it. It flows up from the gut of the city, from the catacombs beneath the cathedral's bones, from the wells no one remembers digging, from the mouths of statues that never blink. It doesn't crash or lap. It spreads, like ink across parchment, like memory through conversation. It moves toward you, slow, patient, inevitable. You feel your boots sink, not far, just enough to remind you what skin sounds like when it forgets how to be dry. You try to move, but the tide isn't just wet. It's remembering you. You feel yourself fragment, not painfully, like peeling wallpaper. You're still you, but you're also the fisherman who sang in the fog and never came back, the noble who sold the harbor and paid in dreams, the servant who whispered the seventh bell and shouldn't have. The tide reaches your knees. You feel the key in your coat glow hot. The sea wants it. No, the door wants it, because somewhere behind the tide, you see it, a new door, wider, older, etched with names not written in any alphabet you know. But you recognize them, because you've dreamed them, because you are one of them. The door has no frame. It just stands there, lodged in nothing. Behind it, silence, a deep velvet silence, the kind that isn't empty, the kind that listens. You wade toward it. The tide caresses your ribs now. You are dissolving, not into death, into permission. The key hums louder. You pull it from your coat. The tide parts slightly, just enough. The door looms. No handle. But it doesn't need one anymore. Not when it knows your name. You step forward. And as the key touches the wood, you remember, not your life, not your story, your role. You were never a visitor. You were always a gatekeeper. You didn't find Vineta. She called you back. The key turns. Not into the door, but into you. You feel it melt against your palm. Its heat spiraling inward, threading through your veins like liquid brass. It doesn't burn, it reminds. Every blood cell suddenly sings like a struck bell. And the door responds, not with sound, but with a vibration that begins in your teeth and settles in your bones. It does not open forward. It opens backward. The wood folds in on itself, curling like a scroll, and beyond it lies not another room or tunnel or chamber, but a memory, not yours, the city's. You step through and find yourself inside the first breath of Vineta. There is no water, no stone, no bells, just a beach, windless, gray as parchment, and a figure standing with their back to you, sculpting the sand with careful, reverent fingers. They aren't human, at least not completely. Limbs too long, skin too smooth, hair woven from fog and shoreline reeds. They press their palm to the earth and whisper a word that tastes like salt and sorrow. Begin, and the sand obeys. It rises, spirals, shapes itself into towers, spires, domes, all shimmering with a sheen that defies light. A city growing like a time-lapse dream. You watch it assemble not piece by piece, but memory by memory. Every stone is laid with intention. Every building is a story waiting to be lived. And you understand, suddenly, Vineta was never built. It was remembered. You turn to the figure. They look over their shoulder at you. They have your face. And behind their eyes, the tide, they speak without moving their lips. You are the bell I buried. You are the wave I delayed. You are the memory I carved into the back of the tide and waited to return. You try to speak, but your voice has already left you. You gave it to the city. It's still echoing down the alleyways, in the splash of puddles, in the laughter of forgotten children. The city begins to shimmer, flicker, glitch, like a thought that's been interrupted. The sand blows sideways, reforms as fog, recondenses into salt towers that tilt and collapse into bells. Every bell you've ever heard. They fall around you like hail. Each one carries a moment. You reach out, touch one. It chimes, and you are 7 years old again, at the edge of a harbor, watching a man drown who never calls for help. You touch another, and you're 68, teeth falling out, reciting a prayer in a language no one remembers, hoping it will buy you one more day in the city that no longer knows your name. You fall to your knees. The bells fall harder, but one, just one, doesn't chime when it hits. It lands softly beside you, flat, matte, uncarved, new, waiting. The city wants you to fill it, to give it your bell, your moment. You lift it, and hear your own voice from earlier tonight. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. You laugh, and it echoes through the empty sky like a final offering. The city stops flickering, stabilizes, settles. You're standing in the center of it again. The real city, not a memory, not an echo. The Vineta, that is. The tide has withdrawn. Your coat is dry. Your boots are clean. And in your hand, the bell. Your bell. You hang it on a hook outside what looks like a tavern, next to dozens of others. Some cracked, some golden, some still ringing. The moment it's in place, the air shifts, light dims, the city sighs, and the door, the backwards one, closes behind you, not with finality, but with recognition. From across the square, Someone waves. You recognize them, though you never met. The girl who swept endlessly, the child who chased the hoop, the woman behind the mirror knocking thrice. They all wait for you now, because the city doesn't end in drowning. It ends in collection of stories, of bells, of selves, and now it has yours, but only part. You still have the rest, for now. So you walk to them, join the crowd, and listen. As Vineta begins to remember someone else, you follow the crowd, not because they call to you, but because they don't. There's no beckoning, no explanation, no narrator telling you what happens next. Just the gentle certainty that wherever they're going, you've already been. The stone streets twist like tendons beneath your feet. With every step, a low note hums beneath the city, a vibration so deep it bypasses your ears and settles directly in your spine. It's not a sound, it's a memory warming up. You pass familiar places now layered with unfamiliar truths. The tavern with the upside-down bell above the door now boasts an extra floor that wasn't there yesterday. The alley with the oil lamp now runs deeper, farther, like a dream that stretches the more you chase it. No one speaks, not with mouths, but the air speaks, with scent, with pressure, with temperature shifts that tell you more than words ever could. The group stops in front of an unmarked doorway. No sign, no symbols, just a stone archway leaking condensation and the faint smell of rust and old ink. The door opens inward. They let you go first. You descend. The steps are shallow but endless, carved into the stone like ribs, each one slightly warped, not from erosion, but from shifting memory. Like the stairs are remembering different versions of themselves all at once. You pass torches that don't burn. They glow with a kind of awareness, subtle, soft, observant. You nod at one. It nods back. Of course it does. You reach the bottom. A hall unfolds before you. No, a vault. Cathedral of forgetting. Shelves stretch into the dark, filled not with books, but with glass lungs. Each one gently inflates and deflates on its own, suspended by cords of braided kelp. The breathing is quiet, almost shy. Every lung holds a misty wisp inside, pale, golden, swirling in rhythm. You approach one. A placard beneath it reads, "Rickle, drowned twice, remembered once." You move on. Another, "Anya, fog bottler, dreamed of snow, died warm." You walk for what feels like hours. No dust, no decay, only careful curation. You're not in a library. You're in an archive of selves. Every soul who ever entered Vineta and stayed, not as bodies, not even as memories, but as breaths, as inhaled truths. You ask aloud, quietly, gently, reverently, "Where am I?" And the lights dim. A soft click. One of the lungs unlatches from its cord. It floats toward you like a jellyfish with purpose. It stops a foot from your chest and exhales into you. It smells of salt, a pine sap, of fish oil and candle wax, and something deeply familiar. Your own fear, not the loud kind, the kind that whispers when everything else is quiet. You breathe in, and the breath is yours now, not taken, gifted. You read the placard as it clicks softly into place. You, gatekeeper, twice drowned, still deciding. Behind you a presence, no footsteps, just an awareness. You turn. It's not a figure, it's a mirror, 7 feet tall, framed in obsidian. It doesn't reflect your image, it reflects your absence. The space where you should be, rendered as fog. You stare into it, and you see all the versions of you that stayed behind. The one who took the backward door and never returned. The one who drowned before the key arrived. The one who told no one and went mad writing in salt on motel walls. They all blink, in unison, and behind them, a city, growing, expanding, fed not by geography, but by belief. The mirror pulses, an invitation, or maybe a warning. You reach toward it, and the bell in your pocket rings. You forgot you even had it. Just one note, but it's enough. You step back, and the mirror clouds. The archive exhales again. Relieved, you walk back up the stairs. The others are gone. No one waits at the top. Only a familiar night sky, full of unfamiliar stars, and the sound of one wave crashing. Once, like punctuation, you look down and see you're still holding the key. But now it's turned to glass. Empty. Waiting. A new breath. A new bell. A new door. All waiting for you to choose. You stand alone beneath the unfamiliar stars. The glass key in your hand pulses with a kind of passive heat. Not warmth, but expectation. Like it knows its time hasn't come yet, but will, and it's already rehearsing. You pocket it. Behind you, the archive door closes with a sigh. You look around. Vineta is quiet tonight. Not silent. Never truly silent, but subdued, as if the city itself is watching you with held breath. You walk. No goal. No path. Just instinct. The streets bend softly, guiding you as if by memory. Then, you see it. A bell tower, but not the one from before. This one is shorter, older, slouched with time. Its bricks water-stained and leaning like it's tired of holding itself up. No spiral staircase. No grand entrance. Just a wooden hatch half covered in barnacles and old seaweed charms. No one built this tower. You remembered it into being. You lift the hatch. It groans like a drowned man waking up. A ladder leads down, not up. Of course it does. You descend. The air is thick, full of iron and salt and something older than rot. Resignation. At the bottom, a chamber, circular, empty save for one thing. A bell, but not hanging, lying on its side, split. Its crack runs like a wound from mouth to crown, as if it were struck too hard, too soon. It hums, not aloud, inside your jaw, your fingertips, your teeth. You reach out and brush it. The room ripples, and suddenly you are elsewhere. You are on a ship. The sky is lead. The crew is screaming, not in fear, in song. The sea rises like a cathedral's ribcage. Lightning flickers in unnatural shapes, letters, maybe, runes. You can't read them, but they feel intimate. You, or the version of you who stands here, is barefoot, holding a scroll bound in sea thread. You open it. It reads, "Bell must break for city to breathe." You look up. Vineta is on the horizon, half-formed, waiting. Another ripple. You're in a cellar. A boy is hammering something onto a slab of bone. It's not a bell yet, but will be. He hums a tune you recognize, but from a place far away. A YouTube intro, maybe. It's warped, but there. You blink, and you're back. The bell lies before you again, still cracked, still humming. You realize this bell isn't broken. It's becoming. It's your bell, the one you've been forming piece by piece with every step, every door, every story you've told. And now it's almost ready to ring, but not yet. It's waiting on something, a final piece. You reach into your coat, the glass key. You hold it over the bell. It flickers, shifts, almost melts, and the bell begins to reform around it. The crack pulls itself shut. The metal reshapes, and before you, whole once more, a golden bell, perfect, silent. You know, when it rings, something will change. Not just in Vineta, in you. It will mark the moment you become what the city's been shaping you into. You lift it. It's warm. You don't ring it. Not yet. You carry it back through the hatch. back to the streets. Vineta seems closer now. Not physically, emotionally, like she's no longer watching you from a distance, but standing behind you, arms crossed, waiting to see what you'll do with what she's given. You make your way toward the shoreline. A new plaza has appeared. There's no crowd, just one bench, and sitting on it, a man with your face. Again, older, faded, wearing your hoodie, the one from your very first upload. He pats the space beside him. You sit. He doesn't look at you. He looks at the sea. Then he says, "You can leave now." You ask, "Will I remember?" He shrugs. "Enough to keep telling the story." You glance down. The bell hums in your lap. Waiting. You ask, "What happens if I ring it?" This time he does look at you. His eyes are tired, but clear. Then it's your city. You look at Vineta. The spires flicker. The tide hushes. Waiting. You raise the bell, but you don't ring it. You whisper, "Not yet," and the city exhales. Pleased, you wake up sitting upright, still on the bench. The sea is calm now, unnaturally so. Not a wave, not a ripple. The water doesn't move. It reflects Vineta's towers so perfectly that for a moment, you wonder if the true city is the one below. The bell is gone from your lap. You check your coat pocket. Still empty, but your chest is humming. You place your hand over your sternum. There, a low vibration, steady, purposeful, like a tuning fork struck gently against your heart. You stand. Vineta is different today. Not foggier, not clearer, just closer. Every building seems tilted toward you in expectation. Doors are slightly ajar. Windows cracked open. Curtains flutter where there is no wind, like a whole city leaning in to listen. And so, for the first time since this all began, you speak. No camera, no microphone, no audience, just you and the city. And the words come out like gold dust. You say, "I accept." The sky doesn't change. There's no thunder, just a single sound, a breath. The kind you take when you know the next word matters. You feel the vibration in your chest deepen, then spread, into your throat, into your teeth, into the back of your tongue. It's not painful. It's not even surprising. It's correct. You walk, not because you have somewhere to go, because you are being recorded, not on tape, not digitally, but in memory. With each footstep, Vineta writes a little more of you into herself, paves you into her streets, folds your gestures into her wind patterns, tucks your laugh into the creak of old doors. You are no longer just remembering her. She's remembering you. You turn down a new alley. You shouldn't be there, and yet somehow you've walked it before. You know where it ends. A stage, small, round, surrounded by stone benches carved with the names of watchers. You recognize none of them, but they all feel familiar. There's a lectern. On it, not a microphone, a conch shell, polished, spiraling endlessly inward. It pulses with that same deep vibration you've been carrying. You pick it up, hold it to your mouth, and speak. Not a story, not a script. A bell. You speak a bell. It begins low, a wordless tone shaped by breath and bone. It blooms outward, coating the plaza in resonance. The sound climbs walls, curls into corners, slides into locks and clicks them open. You see shutters swing wide. You see staircases descend from nowhere. You see doors appear on clouds. The city is responding, but it's not just echoing. It's adapting, rebuilding itself around the shape of your voice. You finish the note. The shell cools in your hand. The vibration in your chest steadies into something quieter. Not gone, just settled. Like a song that knows it'll be sung again later. You place the conch back on the lectern. A bench creaks behind you. A woman sits there. You don't know her, but she knows you. She nods. You tuned her well. You ask, "Who are you?" She gestures to her throat. "Last gatekeeper. I broke the fifth bell." You ask how long ago that was. She smiles. "I don't measure time in hours anymore, only in echoes." You nod. You understand. She pats the bench. You sit beside her. Together, you watch the city shimmer. People emerge now, real people, not figures. Tourists, dreamers, storytellers. They wander, wide-eyed and hungry for meaning. You ask her, "Why now? Why are they here?" She leans her head against the stone wall behind her. "Because you rang without ringing." You smile, quietly, and for the first time since it all began, you are not afraid. You are not confused. You are heard. They arrive by accident. Of course they do. No one plans to find Vineta. They step through mirrors in antique stores, fall asleep on night buses, wander too far into museums and come out through the wrong side of history. Most don't even realize they've crossed over. Not at first, but you see it in their faces. That moment it clicks. When the street ahead is just a little too symmetrical. When the reflections in puddles don't match what's above. When their phones die, not because the battery ran out, but because there's nothing here for them to measure. They trickle in. A couple with matching backpacks arguing softly. A lone man clutching a leather journal like a relic. A girl in neon boots who keeps taking photos, though her camera clearly isn't working. They move through Vineta the way you once did, half aware, half dreaming, wholly watched. You stay seated with the former gatekeeper. She says nothing, just passes you a smooth stone etched with spirals. You rub your thumb over it, and the sound begins, low, like a hum through old plumbing. You lean back, let the city show you what they see. The backpack couple stumbles upon a plaza where pigeons don't blink. The birds don't move either. They're carved from bone and blush, perched eternally mid-coo. The woman leans in to touch one, and the bird whispers her name. Her real name, the one she hasn't spoken since her grandmother died. She steps back. The man doesn't notice. The journal keeper follows an alley that bends in the wrong direction. Not left or right, but moodward. He emerges into a room with no ceiling and too many floors. A child hands him a page torn from his own notebook. He hasn't written it yet. The girl with the neon boots finds a stall selling bottled laughter. The merchant is blind but speaks in perfect TikTok cadence. She buys a vial labeled, "Tuesday You Forgot." She doesn't open it. Not yet. You breathe in. Vineta is remembering again. Each tourist is a page she hasn't read in centuries. You know what happens next. Most will leave. They'll find their way out through dreams, coincidences, forgotten doorways. And they won't remember much, just vague nostalgia, a craving for salt, a sudden fear of bells. But some will stay, not because they choose to, because they fail to choose. The city only keeps those who hesitate, who ask one too many questions, who wait a little too long before turning back. And already you see it. The man with the journal pauses beneath a lamplight that flickers in Morse code. He deciphers one word, stay. He doesn't move. The neon boot girl opens the vial. Her laughter from age 6 pours out, surrounds her like fog, and she breathes it back in. She forgets how old she is, and becomes welcome. The former gatekeeper stands, dusts off her coat. You ask, will they become like us? She nods gently, in ways they'll never notice. At first, you ask, should we warn them? She gives you a look that's not unkind. Would you have listened? You don't answer, because no, you wouldn't have. You would have followed the glint in the puddle. You would have touched the wrong wall. You would have leaned into the bell that echoed before it rang. A light rain begins to fall. It doesn't make you wet. It just makes you aware of where your skin ends. The tourists scatter. The ones who still can. One of them, a boy no older than 10, stops in front of you. He's chewing something. You don't ask what. He reaches into his pocket and holds out a marble. It's gold. Swirling. Familiar. You take it. It's your first video. Condensed. Distilled. Remembered by the city and handed back. You thank him. He nods like an adult who's already tired of reincarnating. Then he's gone. You hold the marble to your ear. Speaks in your own voice. Hey guys, tonight, we're going somewhere you've never seen before. The bell inside you rings once, softly, like a chuckle, and somewhere beneath your feet, Vineta shifts, makes room for another memory. Yours. The marble is still warm in your palm. You don't pocket it. You hold it the way one might hold a sleeping bird, lightly, reverently, aware that it's not dead, only waiting. The rain ends as if on cue. The sky above Vineta is a deep navy now, thick with stars you've never seen mapped. A few twinkle with the sharpness of regret. Others pulse like cursor blinks, waiting for you to write the next line. You rise from the bench and walk without aim. Because in Vineta, destination is always retroactive. Only when you arrive does the city decide where you were going. The streets darken slightly as you turn down a narrow corridor between two buildings that seem to lean toward one another in hushed conversation. At the end, a door. You've never seen it before, but you remember it. Of course you do. A small, round peephole in the center. A door knocker shaped like a bell clapper. No handle, just the faint smell of cedar, charcoal, and childhood lies. The door opens on its own. No creak, no sound, just an invitation. You step inside. You're in a room that should be too large for the building. A cathedral made of chalk and paper and wax. Every surface is covered in drawings. Crayon sketches, ballpoint scribbles, charcoal smudges. Some done with precision, others with desperation. All of them you, versions of you. You as a child, grinning with two front teeth missing. You at 17, headphones in, eyes hollow from grief you never named. You last Tuesday, staring at your camera, wondering whether anyone would care about a city no one remembers. There's a chair in the center of the room. Wooden, familiar, the kind your grandmother once sat in when telling stories she claimed she wasn't supposed to know. On the chair, a notebook, your handwriting, except it isn't. It's what your handwriting wants to be, what it might become if you let go of trying to control it. The title on the front, The Stories You Didn't Mean to Tell. You flip it open. The first page is blank, but you hear a voice behind you whisper, "Read it anyway." You turn. No one, just your own echo, soft, playful. You look back down. The page is no longer blank. It reads, "When you entered the city, you carried questions like stones in your pockets. Now you carry bells." You turn the page. Another passage. Every room in Vineta has a memory of you waiting inside. The question is, will you claim it? You feel the bell inside your chest stir. You close the notebook, not out of fear, out of timing, because the room has changed. A wall has opened behind you, a hallway now, spiraling, lit by lanterns that flicker in rhythm with your heartbeat. Each door along the hallway is etched with a date. You recognize some. Your birth date, the day you lost your first pet, the day you learned how to edit your own audio, the day no one showed up to your stream. You walk past them slowly. Each one pulses. None of them open, until you reach a door with no date, just a symbol, a microphone surrounded by waves. You touch it. It opens. You step through. It's your studio, exactly as it is in the waking world. Same desk, Same mic, same mess of notes and empty mugs and headphone wires tangled like seaweed. Except there's a mirror across from the chair, and you're already in it, recording, speaking softly. You watch your reflection narrate tonight's episode. Hey guys, tonight we're exploring a city that may not exist, except in the places you already miss. It's your voice, but it's not coming from your mouth. The bell in your chest is doing the talking now, and the words are true, even the ones you haven't said yet. You sit down. The mic turns itself on. The red light blinks once. You breathe in, not air, memory, and begin to speak. Not for views, not for comments, for preservation, for the ones who might enter Vineta one day through a wrong turn on a familiar street, and need a voice in the dark to remind them, you are not alone. You were never alone. The tide remembers even the footsteps you tried to forget. You record for hours, or maybe minutes. There is no time in this room, only archiving. And when you're done, the red light fades, the mic powers down, and the mirror nods. Not your reflection, just the mirror itself, as if to say, yes, that was the right story. You step back into the hallway. The lanterns flicker once in applause. Somewhere far above you, a new bell rings. Just once. Sharp, clear, unmistakably yours. The hallway doesn't end where it should. You step out of the studio, expecting to return to the circular corridor of dates and memories. But Vineta, ever obliging, ever amused, has other plans. Now you're in a garden, but not one that grows. This one remembers. The grass beneath your feet is made of pressed linen, embroidered with scenes. Children playing, ships burning, lovers whispering beneath towers that no longer stand. The trees are tall and skeletal, made from driftwood and candle wax. Their leaves cut from journal pages in dozens of languages. None of them quite your own, and yet every phrase seems like something you almost said once. You walk between them, quiet, soft-footed. The bell inside you is ringing now, faint and slow, like a heartbeat you only notice when everything else goes still. You pass a stone table, 6 chairs, 5 filled, each figure faceless but dressed in echoes of you. Your favorite hoodie from 3 years ago, that coat you wore when you failed your first audition, your blackout comfort sweater you only wear when no one can see. They're discussing you like a script draft, arguing gently. One says you're too quiet, another says you speak too much. A third just hums with a bell in their mouth, nodding. None of them look at you, but they all know you're here. You keep walking, because you must. Vineta rewards only motion. At the center of the garden is a well. It doesn't go down. It goes out. You peer over the edge. Reflections swirl. Not just yours, but thousands. Moments. Frames. Each one from a different timeline, a different version of you that turned left instead of right. One became a painter. One vanished at sea. One never uploaded a single story, choosing silence and sleep over echoes. You hear them, not voices, bells, each ringing slightly off-pitch, each one revealing a lie you told yourself. No one will care about this. I'll never be good enough to be remembered. I'm just making noise. You flinch, because those lies wore truth's clothing for a long time. You look into the well and whisper, I know better now. The well pauses, ripples, then answers back not with speech but with alignment. All the bells shift, slightly, and hum in unison. Not perfectly, but honestly, that's enough. You sit at the well's edge, and for the first time in what feels like a very long time, you just listen to yourself, to the other selves, to the sound of honesty with its edges still intact. You reach into your coat, not for the key, not for the bell, but for something smaller, a scrap of paper, blank, Until now, your handwriting appears, slow and looping. Section 20. The moment you knew the voice was always yours. You smile. The garden brightens slightly. One of the faceless figures waves. Another holds up a mirror made of polished driftwood. You look into it. This time, no reflection, just a shape made of sound, like a waveform sculpted in fog. And within that sound, a word. Yours. You speak it aloud. The moment you do, every bell in the garden rings once. In agreement, no dissonance, no denial, only recognition. You rise. The path ahead is clear now, stitched into the ground, guided by the very words you've spoken. And somewhere close but never quite near, Vineta whispers, "Keep going. You're not done. Not until the final bell." You follow the stitched path, barefoot now. The embroidered linen grass no longer flinches at your steps. It welcomes them. With every footfall, words bloom briefly beneath your soles. Not full sentences, just glimmers. Arrival. Almost. Again. Then they fade. The fabric swallows them back as if uncertain they deserve permanence. Vineta doesn't hand out names easily. You turn a corner where no corner should be, and find yourself on a street you've never seen, but already miss. The cobblestones are mismatched, lifted from other cities. You recognize one from Prague, one from Florence, one that looks suspiciously like the cracked sidewalk outside your childhood home. This is no ordinary street. This is the one that never made it into any map. The one that exists only after it's been walked. A street that becomes real through remembrance, and stays real only if you name it. You pause. A plaque on the nearest wall reads simply, "Untitled, still listening." A soft breeze brushes past you, but it doesn't carry leaves. Carries voices. Your own. Not in chorus, but in layers. Audio clips from episodes you've already made. Welcome back, night travelers. You probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes there, but let's try anyway. And if you listen closely, maybe you'll hear what they heard. They spiral through the street, bouncing off the buildings like bats in an old cathedral, finding their places. And the street listens. It doesn't echo back. Not yet. It's waiting for the name. You kneel beside the plaque. Pull a bit of chalk from your coat. Where did it come from? Doesn't matter. You needed it, so Vineta gave it. You write. Not a title. Not something catchy. Just something true. This is where I learned to listen. The chalk glows briefly, then settles, and the entire street exhales. The windows blink open. Shutters pull back. Doors sigh in gratitude. Shadows stretch long and lean, but none threaten. You realize, this is not just any street. This is the first story you never told. The one you didn't know how to shape with words. It's always been waiting for you to come back to it. Not to narrate it, but to hear it. You walk. The buildings murmur softly. You run your hand along the wall. It ripples under your touch, showing fleeting images. A younger you, recording with a blanket over your head to muffle the sound. That one upload with 2 views and no likes. Still the one you're proudest of. A moment you almost deleted a file but didn't. You laugh gently. The street smiles back. Literally. A drain grate turns upward in a crooked grin. A street lamp bows slightly in welcome. At the far end of the street, a kiosk, old wooden round, with a velvet curtain drawn tight. Above it, a handwritten sign. Voice exchange. You approach. No one mans it. No coins. Just a single drawer. You pull it open. Inside, cassette tape. Your name is scrawled on the label, but the date is tomorrow. You pick it up. It's warm. You press it to your ear. Silence. Then, this is what you'll sound like when you've stopped performing. Your eyes sting. Not from sorrow. From recognition. You step back. The curtain rustles. And behind it, a doorway. No frame. Just fabric held aloft by tension and something older than thread. You breathe in. That quiet bell in your chest rings once more. Steady. Confident. The city doesn't tell you what's next. It never does. But the street you named holds your steps like a promise. And somewhere deep beneath the stones, a story unfolds. One that waits only for you to step into it and finish telling the part where you finally stop hiding behind the echo of your own voice. You pass through the velvet curtain like slipping into a memory you never made. Not falling, gliding. The air on the other side is still, thick, and expectant. It smells like burnt pages and rain on stone. And beneath that, just barely, ink that hasn't dried yet. The room is vast, but the size isn't physical. It feels enormous the way déjà vu does, unmeasurable, impossible to map, yet somehow familiar in the bones. Shelves stretch infinitely in all directions, and they're alive, not literally breathing, but moving, rearranging themselves when you're not looking. You turn to check a corner, and when you glance back, the titles are different. It's not a trick. It's relevance. The library reshapes itself to your thoughts. You walk forward. Each step is muffled by a soft layer of parchment underfoot. The books here have no titles on their spines, just questions. What if they never come back? Do you tell the truth when no one's watching? Which version of you remembers the silence correctly? You pull one from the shelf. It's heavier than you expect. You open it. Blank pages. Then, as you breathe on them, ink blooms. Not words. Audio. Written in waveform, each line rising and falling like a heart monitor. You tilt your ear to the page and it begins to play. Your voice, but not from the past. From after. A version of you that has already walked further than this. Calm. Grounded. Right. It says, the stories you fear to tell are already being whispered by the city. You're not here to invent. You're here to listen harder. You snap the book shut, not out of fear, out of respect. You tuck it under your arm and keep moving. You pass a small alcove with a glass case. Inside, your first upload. Not the file, the intention. It glows faintly, like a candle in a storm. Above it, a carved placard. Here lies the echo that started everything. You laugh under your breath. The echo hasn't died. It's just found a place to rest. Further in, a circular room opens. It's lined floor to ceiling with scrolls. They whisper, not in language, in emotion. You hear your own frustration from months ago, unspoken and shelved. You hear excitement from a draft you scrapped too soon. You hear doubt, curled up like a sleeping dog beneath a table of outlines. They're all here, everything you never said aloud, cataloged, waiting. In the center of the room, a desk, old, mahogany, etched with names you recognize from credits you've read 100 times. Pen sits on the desk, featherless, just the metal nib, dipped in nothing, still wet. There's a parchment there, with a single line already written. Vineta is not a place. It is a decision. You sit. The chair doesn't creak. The pen hovers over the page. And you write, tonight, I choose to stay long enough to understand what I almost forgot. The moment you finish the sentence, a door opens behind you. You didn't see it before. It wasn't there. Not until you committed. You step through. The next room is small. A reading chamber, lit by a single floating candle that casts no shadow. There's a figure in the corner, hooded, still, holding a book. The cover reads, "The episode you'll never upload." You approach. The figure hands it to you without a word. The book hums, alive, heavy with meaning. You open it. Every page is filled. With what? You don't know. Not yet. The words rearrange when you try to focus. Not for hiding, for timing. You'll understand them when you're ready. And when you are, Vineta will let you read it again. But only then. You tuck the book under your coat. The hooded figure nods once. And vanishes. Not in a puff. Just into paper dust. A bell rings. You recognize the tone. It's the one you recorded 2 nights ago. You never published it. But Vineta heard it anyway. And saved it. Of course she did. She saves everything you mean even when you say it wrong. A final corridor stretches ahead. You walk, not because you know the ending, but because the story will never finish without you. And the city, she's still listening. Always. You step into the corridor, and the first thing you notice is the dust. But not ordinary dust. This is memory dust. Fine as breath, thick as regret, motes of almost choices and not quite said goodbyes. Clings to your sleeves like old feedback. The walls here aren't walls. They're screens, flickering, faint, like 1,000 forgotten hard drives trying to reboot at once. Each screen shows something you nearly made. A short video you storyboard but abandoned. An intro script you half-recorded at 2 a.m. before deleting it mid-sentence. A thumbnail you hovered over in Photoshop and thought, too weird, no one would get this. They play on loop in silence. You walk through this hallway of almosts, and it hurts, not sharply, but with the ache of missed potential pressing behind your eyes like unshed tears. At the far end of the hall, a desk. Behind it, the archivist. They don't look up as you approach. They're busy cataloging your doubts. Stacks of paper surround them, each labeled with a phrase you once whispered to yourself while staring at your analytics. They liked the last one more. This didn't turn out the way I heard it in my head. No one's going to click something that weird. Maybe I'm not the kind of storyteller they want. The archivist finally speaks. Not with words, with a click. Their keyboard taps out a rhythm, and you realize it's the pattern of your last panic rewrite. You sit across from them. They look up. Their face is blank parchment. You see your reflection sketched in pencil. Shaky, tentative, erasable. They tilt their head. Then they hold out a file folder. You open it. Inside, everything you never uploaded. All of it. Not just ideas, but feelings. The rush you felt the first time you learned about Vineta. The weird goosebumps from reading an obscure 13th century sea legend. The heartbreak of knowing your best research got 5 views. All preserved. As if the city had been archiving not just your work, but your creative friction. You look up. The archivist holds out a pen. Not for edits, for signatures. You sign the top sheet, and the folder burns. No heat, just release. The flames don't consume. They absorb. The papers fold inward, becoming sound. A note, a tone. And that tone joins the bell in your chest, harmonizing. You speak quietly. I don't regret making them, even if no one heard. The archivist nods. For the first time, their face begins to change. Ink bleeds into the parchment. Features begin to take shape. And they're yours, but older, softer, less afraid. They say, using your voice from the very first episode, I just thought this was interesting, and maybe you will too. And that sentence feels like an oath. A promise you once made to the void, hoping it would echo back. You stand. The archivist nods once, then returns to work, already typing out the next almost that will never need to happen. The hallway behind you has collapsed into mist. No going back, only onward. A new door waits, painted black, trimmed in silver. You push it open and find your desk, but not in your home. In Vineta, rebuilt by memory. The bell sits on it now, golden, whole, no longer humming, waiting. You sit. For a long time, you say nothing. You just breathe. Feel the way your hands fit on the keyboard now. Feel how your chair no longer creaks, it settles. Feel how the silence is no longer anxious. It's inviting. You place the unmade episode, the one from the reading chamber, on the desk. The bell gives one small chime. You begin to write, not because anyone told you to, not because it's trending, because you're finally ready to listen to your own voice. And let it stay. The writing fades into the page the moment you stop. It doesn't vanish. It settles, like ink into cotton, like breath into winter air, briefly visible, then absorbed into the world. The bell on the desk gleams. It's no longer just a symbol. It's a recording device, not digital, not mechanical, but spiritual. Every word you've said since entering Vineta, every heartbeat you've allowed the city to echo, every decision to stay when leaving would have been easier. It's all in there. You lift the bell. It's heavier than before, weighted with honesty. You don't ring it. You present it. Because in Vineta, the final rings are not made with hands. They're earned. The air shifts. The walls around your desk draw back like curtains, revealing a workshop, ancient, massive, lit by bioluminescent algae floating in glass globes suspended from the ceiling. This is the bellmaker's studio, but there are no tools, no hammer, no forge, just people, figures, faded, some sharpening the edges of silence, others blowing sound into molten thought. One is carving a handle into a bell made from a child's bedtime question. Another is melting down broken metaphors into bell clappers shaped like apologies. You walk among them. They don't look at you, but they nod once, almost imperceptibly, as you pass. Because they know you've brought something rare, not just a bell that's been through something. You stop before a bench carved with words. Here, speak only what you mean. It will be heard exactly once. You place your bell on the bench. The bellmaker steps forward. They wear no face. They are made entirely of feedback, comments, reviews, private messages, all braided into a robe of second chances. They say nothing. Just reach out and listen to your bell. Their hands never touch it. They hear it with their skin. And then they bow, just slightly. Permission granted. You're allowed to strike the bell now. Once. That's the rule. The only rule. You raise your hand, breathe, and say, I meant all of it, even the unfinished parts. You strike. The sound is not loud, not soft, but final, clean tone, high enough to cut through mist, low enough to settle in bones. It doesn't ring out into the sky. It rings inward, into Vineta. The studio shakes, not in destruction, in recognition. The walls ripple. Every unfinished sentence you ever left dangling finds a period. Every idea you thought no one wanted suddenly has place. When the vibration fades, the bellmaker gestures to the far wall. Parts. And behind it, a shelf. One single bell sits there. Yours. Labeled not with your name, but with your first sentence ever spoken into a microphone. Hey guys. Tonight we're going somewhere weird. The bellmaker whispers, not to you, but to the bell. Sleep now. We'll wake you when you're needed. And you understand. Not every story needs to be told now. But when the time is right, Vineta will ring your bell again. And someone somewhere will follow its sound, not even knowing why. Just needing to. You turn to leave. But the bellmaker stops you. They hand you a new object. A tuning fork. It hums faintly when you grip it. Set to your frequency. Your truth. You'll need it, they say. The world outside has many noises. You ask, what am I supposed to tune? They smile with no mouth. Yourself. Often. The path opens behind you. You leave the studio. The city feels quieter now. Not empty, just sated. Like a tale well told. or a secret finally understood. You look up, and Vineta, for the first time, looks back. She doesn't speak, but she nods. And in the distance, a new bell rings. Not yours. Someone else has just arrived. You follow the sound of the new bell, not out of curiosity, but out of something deeper, a kind of kinship. You remember the feeling of being the new voice in a city built from echoes. You remember the silence that greeted you, how it wasn't empty, just waiting, and now someone else has stepped into it. You pass through an arch of singing stone, low tones vibrating through your knees. The sky has gone soft gray, that velvet tone of early morning before color wakes up. Vineta is listening again, but differently now. More stillness, less testing. You feel it as you walk. The city trusts you, because you didn't just survive her. You heard her, and now she's giving something rare, a final invitation. You arrive at a door made of fog. It doesn't open for you. It waits for your voice. You touch your chest. The bell inside is silent now, not gone, just resting. So you hum, a simple tone. Yours, unpolished, unspectacular. The door opens. Inside, a small circular chamber. One chair, one table, one figure. The listener. Their hood is pulled low. Their fingers drum quietly on the surface of the table. Steady, 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 as if counting heartbeats. You sit across from them. No words exchanged, because that's not how this room works. Here, the rule is simple. You speak, they listen, and what you say becomes true. Only here, only once. You take a breath and begin. You don't tell a grand tale, not a history, not a legend. You just speak what you've never said aloud. Things you thought were too small to matter. I'm afraid of being boring. Sometimes I hate the sound of my own voice. I wish I could be okay with being heard by just one person. The listener nods. Slowly, deliberately, you continue. Each sentence you speak becomes real in the room. A flicker, a shape. The table now holds a small plastic cassette player. Your childhood bedroom lamp. A crumpled receipt from the day you almost quit. They are not props. They are memories stabilized because someone finally bore witness. You speak for what feels like hours, maybe longer. The listener never interrupts, never judges, only listens. At one point, you whisper, "I'm tired of measuring meaning by numbers." The listener raises their head. You glimpse their face. It's you, not perfectly mirrored, but deeply familiar. A version of you that has already made peace with never going viral, with being small, with being real. They smile, and for the first time you feel weightless, not ungrounded, unburdened, like the bell you carried has melted into breath. The listener stands. They do not speak. They just place something on the table, a sealed envelope, on the front in careful handwriting. For when you forget why, you take it. It hums softly. You don't open it. Not yet, because sometimes knowing you have the answer is enough. You stand. The room shifts behind you, fades into mist and stitched silence. Ahead, a gentle slope leads back toward the shoreline. You smell salt and sand. The tide is rising. Vineta's skyline glows with that golden melancholy of cities remembered more vividly than they ever were in life. And you understand now, you're close to leaving, but not because the city is pushing you out, because you're ready to carry her with you. Not in recordings, not in scripts, in voice, in attention, in how you'll listen to yourself next time, and in how you'll tell your stories, quietly, weirdly, truly, even when no one's watching, especially then. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into this ending together. because one last bell remains, and it's time to ring it. The path curves gently downward. You walk slowly now, not out of fear, not out of hesitation, but because some endings deserve to be lingered in. The sea is ahead. You hear it before you see it. Not crashing, not roaring, just that soft pull of tide against sand. The slow inhale of the world as it prepares to let go. You step onto the shoreline, and there she is, Vineta, spread behind you like a dream that chose to remember itself. Her spires glow faintly under the silver blue sky. Her bells have gone quiet. She doesn't ask you to stay. She doesn't need to. She knows you will in ways that aren't physical. In echoes, in choices, in the way you'll pause, someday mid-sentence, hearing something in your own voice that wasn't there before, and smile. You walk to the water's edge. The sand beneath your feet is cool, firm yet forgiving. Each step leaves a print that glows for a moment, then fades without erasure. Vineta doesn't forget. She just lets go gently. The boat is waiting. It's small, wooden, unremarkable, the kind of vessel you might pass by 100 times without noticing, until the one time you need it. No sail, no oars, just trust, and a tuning fork on the seat. Still humming, you step in. The water accepts your weight like an old friend. The boat begins to move, not forward, not backward, just out, into the space between. You don't look back, because this time you don't have to. Vineta has no gates, only thresholds. The envelope is still in your hand. You unwrap it now. Inside, a single sentence, written in your own voice. You told the story the way only you could, and that was enough. You smile, the kind of smile that reaches the exhale, the kind of smile that settles something old and trembling in your chest. The bell there stirs one final time, not loudly, not to be heard, but to mark this moment. With closure, the fog rolls in around your boat, soft, comforting, like blankets fresh from the dryer. The sea murmurs in languages you almost remember. Somewhere in the distance, another bell rings. Not yours, not yet. Another voice, another traveler, another story beginning. You whisper into the fog, "Good luck," because now you understand what they're stepping into. And more importantly, you believe they'll find their way. The water cradles you, the boat drifts, the air cools, and somewhere just beyond vision, the real world begins to return. Slowly, kindly, ready for you. And this time you carry not just a story, but a city, hidden in your voice, waiting for the right listener. The sea is a cradle now. Your boat, a lullaby. You recline gently, letting your shoulders soften into the curved wooden seat, letting the fog wrap around you like an old sweater you forgot you still loved. Everything is slower now. Even your breath sounds quieter inside your own chest. Not from fatigue, but from something older. Peace. Above you, the sky is ink-washed linen. The stars are soft pinpricks of memory, not sharp enough to pierce, just enough to glimmer. You don't steer. There's no need. Vineta never lets the truly ready get lost. And you're ready now. You feel it in your fingertips the way they've stopped reaching. You feel it in your jaw, how it no longer clenches against silence. You feel it in your mind, no longer demanding explanation from mystery. The tuning fork in your lap vibrates gently. You pick it up. It doesn't hum at you. It hums with you. Your body is a frequency. Your thoughts are an instrument. Your story is still playing, but it no longer has to be loud. You whisper, "I'm not afraid to be quiet," and the fork glows faintly in response. You could sleep now, but there's one more sound. Comes from inside you. Not the bell, not your breath. Your voice, unfiltered. No editing, no second takes. Just you saying what you've longed to hear. This story mattered, even if it only mattered to me. And in the stillness that follows, the sea nods, not with waves, with permission. Your boat slows, not because it hits shore, because you've arrived, not in a place, in a moment where everything you are and everything you aren't can finally rest. You lay down fully now. The boards beneath you are warm, like the floor of a sunlit attic. A seagull calls somewhere far away, as if confirming, yes, this was the ending, but also, yes, you can return if you need to, because Vineta isn't gone. She's part of you now, not a destination, but a resonance, a city made of voice and silence, and the space between the two. And you, little boat drifter, you carry her carefully, right there, behind your ribs. The fog thickens, your eyelids follow. There's nothing more to prove. There never was. The water whispers, sleep. The next story is already on its way. And your chest rises one last time with wakeful breath, then falls into the rhythm of the tide. It's so quiet now, but not empty. This silence has texture, like velvet brushed in the wrong direction, like snowfall on the roof while you lie awake, unsure if you're still dreaming or already drifting back into it. You feel your breath, not controlling it, not shaping it, just following it, in and out. The tuning fork rests on your chest now, not vibrating, just warm, the way something feels when it's waiting patiently to be remembered. You no longer see the sea, you no longer hear the boat, but you don't need to, because the world is soft now, like the space behind your eyes just before sleep catches you, the place where stories don't end, they just loosen, unravel into strands of sound and scent and feeling, too quiet to repeat, too sacred to forget. You don't know when you last blinked, or whether your eyes are even open anymore, but you see things, not in front of you, within you. Moments flicker past, weightless and kind. The first time you stayed up late to finish something, not because you had to, because you wanted to. That stranger's comment you almost dismissed, until you realized it came from someone who needed what you made. The quiet pride of uploading something weird and true, even when no one asked for it. They're small lights, not spotlights, fireflies, each one a bell in miniature, each one singing not to be noticed, just to remind you they were real. You hear them now for the first time in full. You kept going. You stayed true. You listened back. You were never alone. The air is thicker, not heavy, safe, like being under a weighted blanket woven from old letters you wrote but never sent. You curl toward the warmth. Your fingers twitch softly, as if still crafting sentences in your sleep. Maybe you are. Maybe the best stories come when you stop trying so hard to tell them, and just feel them. Let them wrap around your voice like steam around a mug. Let them settle in your chest, not your throat. Let them hum. The line between waking and dreaming is a shoreline now, and you're floating just above it, not crossing, not resisting, just letting it rock you. Your body remembers how to rest, how to trust the silence, how to let the last word land like a feather, not a gavel. You hear something barely, a bell, far in the distance, but it's not for you. It's for someone else, some other voice, some new story just beginning, somewhere quiet. You smile, just enough for the air to notice. So rest now. There's no story left to carry, only the feeling of it, still warm in your bones, still humming beneath your skin. The kind of story that doesn't need to be retold, because it's become part of who you are. You're floating now, not on water, not in air, on voice, your own, softened, slowed, like a lullaby hummed just for you. by someone who knows all your sharp corners and smooths them without asking. There's no more need to think. Not here. Not now. Your thoughts have grown quieter than breath. And breath is just a rhythm beneath the blanket of this moment. You don't know where your body ends. The fog has taken your shape, cradled it, reshaped it, not into something new, but into something still, like snow that hasn't been stepped on yet, like a sentence you never finished because the silence afterward said enough. The boat has disappeared, or maybe you never needed one. Maybe you were the boat all along. You hear a gentle chime, not a bell this time, something older, lower, like the sound of a door being gently closed in a house that loves you. You smile again, just barely, because you know now, Vineta wasn't a mystery to be solved. She was a question to be sat with, a space to be quiet in, a reminder that even your strangest stories, your loneliest words, your least perfected uploads, still held weight, still mattered, still reached, not thousands, not even hundreds, just one. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that is the miracle. The stars above you fade, not vanish, just dim, not because the sky has gone dark, but because your eyes have. They're closed now, fully, easily, naturally. Your breath is steady, your chest rising like a tide that no longer needs to crash, only to rock, to hold, to hush. And even now, in this almost sleep, you can still hear her, Vineta, that imaginary city built from forgotten bells and voices that refused to go silent. She doesn't speak words. She never did. She speaks tone. And hers, tonight, says only this: rest now. You told your story. You were heard. You don't have to hold the ending. It's holding you. You curl inward, gently, lightly, like a thought that's no longer afraid of being lost. And for the first time in a long time, you don't need to remember anything, because the story will remember you. Shoo, you're still here, but softer now, like a ripple that forgot it was once a wave. There's no need to open your eyes. Everything worth seeing is already with you, in the quiet, in the warmth pooling behind your ribs, in the slow, smooth rhythm of your breath. In, out, in, out. Each exhale leaves just a little more behind. The thought, a worry, a moment you meant to edit later. But there is no later now. Only this, only the hush. Vineta is almost gone, but not lost. She was never built from stone. She was built from your voice and your silence, and both are still with you. She fades gently, as if stepping into the fog on purpose, not hiding, just resting, because the city has told her part. And now you're telling yours, with closed eyes, with slow limbs, with a heartbeat that no longer races to be understood. You made it. You told the tale. And now the tale is telling you, hush now, you were enough. Even when no one was watching, especially then. Your hands don't need to hold anything. Your throat doesn't need to perform. Your thoughts don't need to finish. Not every story has a moral. Not every question needs an answer. Some just need to be shared. Like this one. Like you. There's a sound now. A bell. Your bell. Just once. A soft chime. Not to wake you, but to seal this. To hold the edges of the moment in place. And then, stillness. Not absence. Presence that no longer has to try so hard. The kind that fills a room once the music stops and everyone simply breathes. Sleep now. Let the fog curl around your shoulders. Let the water rock beneath you. Let your thoughts wander without needing to return. The city will be here when you wake. Not in the world, but in you. Always in you. That soft bell tone beneath your breath. The echo in your own voice when you speak with truth. The quiet joy of knowing you didn't have to be loud to be heard. You were always enough. You are even now, especially now. Shoot, let go. Sink deeper. No more story. No more plot. Just breath. Just dark. Just peace.